Have you ever felt like your spiritual gifts don't quite fit into your professional life? Or ever wondered if you're allowed to bring your whole self, intuition, ancestral wisdom, everything into the healing space? Well, in today's episode, I'm joined by Beth Renov, a fellow therapist and intuitive guide, and we're diving deep into what it really looks like to blend therapy and spirituality. We talk about chronic illness as a spiritual awakening, coming out and navigating family dynamics, and what it means to truly trust your inner knowing even when it goes against the grain. We get into the ethics of intuition in therapy, how past lives can connect to present day healing, and why delayed success might actually be divine timing. That's a hard one to sit with, personally. And this episode is brought to you by How We Get Woo, where the real transformation happens. Live events, daily meditations, journal prompts, and most importantly, a deep connection with women who actually get it. If you're ready to fully step in, join the How We Get Woo community today. The link's in the show notes. Welcome back to How We Get Through, where we heal, we expand, and we get through together. Welcome back to the How We Get Through podcast. You guys, we have a special one today. My friend Beth, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. So we actually kind of met recently, but became fast friends because we are both therapists
Yes.
that are into the spiritual realm
Mm-hmm.
and trying to navigate what the hell that means.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it has been something that I tried to deny for so long and
Yeah.
just finally accepted it. And hopefully if my clients hear this, they will accept it too.
But I think there's that interesting part about being a therapist and having boundaries. And I mean, really, if you aren't a therapist, let's just tell you how scary they make it out. Like, they will take away your license if you do this, this, and that. And like, the worst thing is like having sex with your clients, which we are never gonna do. Just to let you guys know.
Yes, we are not trying to come on to you and take advantage of you.
Exactly. But it does become a little scary when you, I think, go outside of that therapy box. But it's interesting because I'm talking to a lot of other therapists that were kind of branching out of that because we're viewing healing as so much more. And you see it like just with somatic. Somatic healing has been like huge in the last like 10 years. And now I'm seeing this like spiritual boom as well. But I'm curious of what your experience is with that.
Well, I think also the ethics that they tell you, I don't even agree with half the time. So it's I'm like, okay, but then they have this power over you of whether you can work or not. So you feel like there's a lot of red tape around what you could do, how you could be. And I think, and listen, my journey as a therapist has always been I'm better when I'm able to be authentically me and do things in my own way. That maybe another therapist would be like, that's so inappropriate, but I don't find appropriate and it connects. And I don't have short-term clients. Almost all my clients are from 2 to 7 years. So, we are on a journey together. We're doing something that's, bigger than short-term crisis therapy anyway, you know? So, the spirituality part, I think we all channel anyway. So I think therapists have to be really in tune with intuition. And not to say you're not good if you don't, but I think when you can connect with people in that way, it's because you're picking up on something that isn't just like that person or you or what you learned in school or what you've learned through experience. You're picking up on the energy in the room. And sometimes I'm talking and my clients are like, oh my God, you're like in my head. I'm like, yeah, because I am.
But I do think that's a good point. It's like, okay, label it what you want, but it is that energy exchange. It's that relationship building. It's that, and just as much as we have to filter through our own bias to clear and to be grounded of what is best for them or give them different avenues to explore, it's the same thing in the spiritual community or in the spiritual way, right? You have to be really grounded and aware of your own lens. And finding that discernment, I think is getting trickier because there's a lot more stuff out there.
Hmm. Well, and I think it's also like, what do you mean by discernment?
Mm. I think it's the how we can like, what resonates for that person and how do they integrate that versus kind of giving away your autonomy of, like, "Tell me what's wrong with me," or, "Tell me if I have, like, a demon on me," or, "Tell me if I should be with this person," or, "Tell me if I" and I'm guilty of this, okay? So, that's how I know it well.
Right.
And what's interesting because I kinda go back to my human design, and I have an open, like, head channel. I don't even know what they're called. Gate. So for me, you tell me something, I'm like, "Oh, yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Uh-huh. That's real. That's real." And then I have to really kind of go through different levels to be like, "Okay, well, what is actually real for me?" Um, and so I just think, like, it can get kind of tricky. I mean, this is the age-old things of cults, right? Like, they tell you to ignore everything you're feeling
Right.
and to believe into something else. And so I think that's, like it's kind of like, what is what am I trying to say? I think that's part of our mission is to keep empowering people to decide for themselves
Right.
what is real for them or not.
Right. And to be honest, like I don't blindly believe anything, you know?
We're opposites.
Yeah. Like, and I think I'm susceptible to things, and everything piques my interest. And I'm like, ooh, I need to learn about that. But it's really like this is where intuition comes in, and versus anxiety versus
Fear.
uh fear, right? It's also desperation. Like when you desperately want to change, when you desperately want to get out of something, and someone's giving you this answer of like, yep, that's it. It's so easy to go with that rather than be like, how does that really feel for me? You know, you have everybody has filters, which everything has to go through from your experience, your ancestral trauma, your um, past life trauma, and it all filters into like develop and I hate to say your truth, but it really is your truth, right? You know, I think there is the truth. I think there's so much gray, and we live in this black and white world. So when someone tells you something and you're in this really vulnerable state where you're susceptible to believe whatever confirms your bias, confirms like either a negative belief about yourself or something you just want to hear, it's so easy to go that way because it's like, okay, maybe that gives you faith, maybe that gives you motivation. But you have to stop and be like, "Okay, based on my values," and we can always change. We can change our values, we can change our minds. Nothing's rigid and fixed. And that's for therapy, that's for spirituality. I used to believe in a lot of things in both that I just don't believe anymore based on my experience, based on ascension of spirituality and getting to different levels, and I think it's just a process, and that is what life is, you know? So, nothing's fixed, and it's okay if you blindly believe something now, and then later you're like, "Yeah, it was probably not true."
I don't know if that was good for me. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, and I think what I've learned is, if the message feels like love for me, like if it's loving for me and it's helping me, then I'm gonna take that. If
Yes.
it's hurting me or giving me more anxiety or anything like that, then I have to really, like, clear that and ground into something else. Um, because I think really the worst thing for me is if someone gives me a timeline, then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, okay, by this time, this is gonna happen," because I'm in that desperate state of like, "When the fuck is this going to change?" You know?
Yes.
But what I've learned is like that is bullshit, and it is the fucking worst thing for me ever, because then I fixate on something, and then I'm also not in the present. I'm like, "Okay, well, this is coming up, so I got it in blah, 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 blah." And so I just think, like, if a timeline works for you, if you get, like, a reading or whatever, if you're listening, then go for it, but if it starts tripping you up, then it's no longer helpful information.
Right. And to be honest, I don't think most psychics or mediums are necessarily therapists and know how to get their own stuff out of the way. So maybe they're picking up on something that's theirs and giving it to you without realizing. And I don't think it's malicious, you
Right.
know, but it is a practice we are so um like expert in, I guess, after doing it for so many years. It's like you really have to challenge everything. Is like, is this mine or yours? And I think we're just so programmed to do it, especially when you get into this stuff. It's like, okay, am I just feeling something of mine and this seems really familiar, so I'm going to say this? And is this something I'm wanting? Is this what I think you want to hear? And so I think there are so many things you have to consider when you're doing therapy too, or any of the spiritual stuff. Is okay, like, how is this going to help the other person? And do I really feel this is a message coming through if it's like spiritual? Um or is it a bias? Am I afraid? And listen, all our stuff is, if you're a people pleaser, you're gonna want to tell someone what they want to hear. And that doesn't
Yes.
go away if even if you're spiritual.
Right. Exactly. And it's interesting, like, I would feel like, and maybe you can speak to this. Okay, maybe talk about your gifts and how it came about, and then we can get more to
Okay.
it.
So I like, definitely from a young age, I would just know things like really in my gut, and they'd always be true. I would hear things in my house that no one else heard. Like, I'd be by myself, hear furniture moving in the attic, hear people talking. No one's there. And I'm just like, I wasn't scared of it. I'm just like, oh, that's odd. But like, I didn't talk about it because no one was ever like, oh, did you hear
Right.
people? But I was obsessed with witches. I was obsessed with like magic and magical things. And I would joke around, like, my college roommate, I had all 4 years of college, and like we remained best friends after. And like, when she was having a baby, I knew exactly it was gonna be a boy. Like there were just things like I knew, and she's like, "I always go to you, like, when I, like, need to know something." And then doing therapy, I had a client, and I would never normally do this. Like, I really don't bring in spirituality unless someone brings it up with me, and I don't even say what I do necessarily. It's just more, "Okay, let's lean into that for you." But this person happened to be very spiritual, had gifts as well. And they were talking about how they would, like, in past years, how they would be able to make like herbal tinctures and just like have no idea. Like, an herb would pop into their head and they would just know exactly what it was for. And it would like, they'd look it up and it was like, oh my God, yeah, like, how do I know this? So fast forward a few years, I got out of that, and they were starting to get back into it. And all of a sudden, this, like, woman popped in my head. Like, and I don't know why I knew it was a great-grandmother. I knew it was from Italy. I saw rolling hills in the background. I saw it was on a farm. I saw there was this, uh, porcelain basin, but there wasn't running water, so I knew, like, a time frame. And I'm like, "Do you have a great-grandmother from Italy that lived on a farm?" And she's like, "Yeah." It was just like, like, this woman just stayed in my head, and I'm just like, okay, like, ask your family about her. And the woman went away, but the next week, like, when we were gonna meet, that night before, she popped in my head again. And then during the session, she's there. I'm like, I just have to say, like, she's still here. And like, what I'm seeing is she's like really sad and lonely. Like, you could feel it. I could feel everything this woman was feeling. And she looks so sad. She looks so lonely. And my client's like, yeah, well, actually, I found out about her. She sent all her sons to Rome to have a better life. And her husband died when he was really young. So she was all by herself on this farm. And so later she found out her great grandma was called a kitchen witch. She was really good with
Oh
herbal
my
stuff. So
gosh.
it was like the sign that she was like, your gifts are real. It comes from somewhere. And then I asked her to send a picture of her great grandma if she could find one. And it was this woman. And I was just like so weirded out. And then I kept having those like weird things. And like, my friend went to a psychic, and I texted my wife before she went, because it's both of our friends. And I was like, she's gonna tell her she's gonna meet a woman named Christine. I'm like, I'm just texting you this now because I just have this like weird feeling. So my friend, like, later that week, goes to a psychic, and she's like, yeah, she told me I'm gonna meet this woman Christine. And I was like, what is
Oh
going
my
on? I'm like, I
gosh.
sent her the text. I'm like, this is so weird. I don't even know why I sent this. But there's like those sorts of things just like kept happening to me, and it kept getting stronger and stronger. Then I went on the whole, like, I need to see a psychic every week thing, because I was just like,
Yes.
what is going on? Like, I need confirmation. I need to know what's going to happen. And it was a really out of control feeling. And going to psychics, like, made me feel more in control. But every single one is like, you're from a long line of witches, you're a psychic and a medium, like this has been in your like family line forever. In past lives, you've been this. And they're like, you actually have like a really fast turnover of your spirit guide team. And they're all new and they're helping to raise you and you're just learning this really fast. And that has been a theme in my life. Like everything I do, like I remember I was like 3 years into social work, and I got a new job, and my boss was like, "Okay, so you've been doing this, like, 15 years?" I'm like, "No, 3." He's like, "Oh my god." And, like, every time I did something, I did stand-up comedy, and, I think I was doing it for, like, 3 months, and I did this, show where they have an agent there. He's like, "Okay, so you've been doing this, like, 5 years?" I'm like, "No, like, 3 months." He's like, "Oh my god, like, just keep going." And, like, they never aligned, so I mean, obviously, the social work did, but I was just like, "I don't want my life to look like that," you know? But it was just always a thing, like, when I tried something, I don't know if it was just confidence or something, but I just always did it really fast, and there were all these signs that it was just like, "Okay," like, "This is what I'm meant to do, I have this gift, and I can basically, like, just see things, and it's dead on." Like, I'll think of words, and it'll lead me to an article, and it's exactly what like, is going on, It's like, I'll think of, like, a flower, and when I look up the properties, it's exactly what the person I'm trying to help needs, Like, when tell someone to do a ritual, like, a ritual will come in my head. I didn't study this stuff, but it helps people, I can really tap into what someone's feeling. I can talk to, like, their ancestors will come in, past lives come in, and I can just see it really clearly and help people understand why a behavior is happening in their life. Um, like for me, this was really weird. I was having like rage episodes that were not me. I am not a rageful person. And my wife was like, "You like black out and you say these like really weird things and you're just screaming." And I was like, "This is so weird." And I went to this woman, Annie, who's fantastic too. She's an Akashic Records reader. She does all that. And she read my past lives and my Akashic record. She's like, "One of your lives that came up, um, your mother was really, really abusive. And she would say this, this, and this. And it was exactly what I was saying. She's like, she's attached to your soul. So she had to like detach her from my soul. And after that, I never had it again. It was like the most
Wow.
bizarre thing. So it's just like all these things like really resonated with me. And then I guess through like healing, like and I really do believe, like, people with chronic illness have this, or maybe it's just people who are psychic or, mediums have chronic illness. There's something about it that's really weird.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, there is this thing where you're able to tap in really easily. I don't know, because every single one I know is sick.
Yeah.
So, it's just like I don't know if it just drains your energy and your immune system because it's, like, hard to be in this body, but, now I do readings with people, like, we did one, like, a few weeks ago, and it's, like, therapy-like, I'm not doing therapy, but I'm able to grab things in and, like, your grandmother came in, like, I couldn't possibly know those things,
Yeah.
like and just, like, I don't know, you tell me about how it was for you.
Oh, you can say anything you want in the
Oh.
session. Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, your grandma came in, like, I think I knew even the first time when you were giving me, like, a reading, like, I was, like, I think pretty dead on about your relationship, and we'd never talked,
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
so it's just,
Exactly.
like, I just know things, and I don't know how I know them. I don't know why it's always the right thing to say. It just is, and it's helpful.
Yeah. Was your chronic illness a pathway to your mediumship in a way or no?
Um, I think it's what helped me turn it back on. I think I always had it. But I mean, I'm not like those kids who was like, I saw dead people and like, I mean, I did, but like, I wasn't like,
Liar.
yeah, no, but it wasn't like part of my life. I like kind of didn't pay attention to it. I kind of thought like maybe everybody did. No one's talking about it. We don't like make a big deal about it. But there were like certain things I just knew. But then like I shut everything down. And I think a large part of that was being gay and like really not wanting to accept that. Like I knew when I was 14. Like, I had a crush on the girl in the play, and it is not normal to want to see someone that badly. So, but I just like, I grew
Oh.
up. It was the 90s. You weren't accepted. Like all these kids now are out,
Oh,
which is
yeah.
amazing. But like, I was like, I'm not going to have friends. I'm not going to have family. It was something I just shut down. And it led to different traumas in my life. And I do think trauma and illness, like whatever your trauma is, you healing it opens up your gift. I do fully believe that. I think if you can't clear that out, you are never going to be able to really get in touch with those gifts. It's almost like peeling back the layers, and your gifts are at the core of it. And not that I'm done peeling, like I'm certainly not. Things are going to come up, but I got to the point where I could tap into it. And chronic illness, I think, was a manifestation of a lot of my trauma too that I just ignored.
Yeah, because that's what I'm wondering if it's part of the connection, because for me, my body had to be like, "We are not okay, we are not okay," for me to go into energy work. Because there was, like, doctors, like, were, "What's happening? I don't know." So then it was like, this was an entryway into, like, the spiritual part of it.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
again, we can over spiritualize anything, right? But it's such a big component that I think in healing that we're learning to kind of turn on and be like, okay, if it's medical, if it's emotional, if it's spiritual, if it's physical, like it's all of these things. Let's pick apart what is here for you so that it's like this holistic picture.
Mhm. And they're all interwoven. Like, I don't really believe they're separate. It's just like sometimes one's like, if you think about it as like a braid or like a rope, just sometimes there's a thicker piece on top that you have to unravel, right? So you're all intertwined and it's untangling it a bit. And you're never going to be fully untangled. That's just life, because new things are going to come in which create another strand. And I heard a psychic say, she's like, channeling are my metaphors, and I'm a very big metaphor person,
Oh,
and I
yeah,
have
and
no
that's
idea.
a therapist thing.
Yes, and I have no idea where it comes from. I'm like, "I've never thought of this before," like, this is just coming out of my mouth, and half the time I don't know if this happens to you, but, I'll say something to clients, they're like, "Oh, I wish I wrote that down." I'm like, "I can't even tell you what I just said." Like, yes.
Yes,
So,
that happens all the time.
that I think is channeling. But I think like we experience some of those traumas, and trauma is really just like how you internalize something too, and how it sits in your body. And I think if you haven't recovered, I really am a big believer of ancestral, of inherited, and past life. If there is something that's so unresolved in your past life, it's going to repeat. So that, and like, that's why you as a child, you as a teenager, you as an adult internalize it and store it, is because you need to recover that and work through that from your past life that you never did. And that's why I think past lives come through for me so much. And I don't put that in my therapy at all.
Yeah.
That's like getting a little mix that I know I feel comfortable with. But I think that is one of the most helpful things with people I work with in the readings, because it's like, oh, okay, that makes so much sense, and I could see a full picture. And it's not clear like I'd see a movie, but it's like it's there. Like with yours, I remember seeing that little girl like being abused, and she had these powers and she couldn't be her full self. And so you lived in the woods. I saw a fairy, and you're like, oh, someone else told me I was a fairy too.
Yeah. It's like, that rings true. Yeah.
So it's just like, and if multiple people are telling you things that are really random, it's probably true, is my feeling.
Yes, and I think it's almost tapping into your belief of it, which again, if it's wrapped in, like, good and love, like, who gives a fuck about, like, I love being a fairy, whether or not that was true for me,
Right.
it resonates on some level
Right.
of that, like, that magical piece, you know?
Right. And I think there's a reason that kids are so into magic and magical things. It's because they're so much closer to that spiritual realm. And like, listen, we only know a part of our brain. Like, they only know how, what, like 30-40% of it functions. Who's to say that other 70% isn't supernatural, isn't this cosmic thing? We're saying so definitively it's not, but it's like we don't have proof it isn't.
Right.
So when you're a kid and you don't have all this stuff that's been, I don't want to say indoctrinated, but learned, of how to be and social constructs and that kind of stuff, you are just naturally you. You are like believe in this magic and then you learn not to. So I think it's the process of getting rid of like all that learned stuff so you can believe again and get in touch with that magic because I really do believe it's there.
How was your wife, accepting of your gifts? Like, how is she into it?
Not really. I think she's like a very big skeptic. And, I once heard this podcast or I read it somewhere. Some people are on a vacation life, like in this lifetime. I think she's on her vacation. So
Right, so she's just, like, here to just chill and
she's chill. I will say she's so accepting of I am eccentric, I will say that. So, I started taking singing lessons. I'm like, "I wanna do tap dancing. I wanna do this." I'll, like, start a business, like, every other week. And she's like, "Yeah," Sometimes she has to adjust to the things because they are out there. Like, all of a sudden when I'm like, "Oh, I'm psychic and I speak to dead people," she wasn't like, "Yeah, let's do this." But, it took her a minute because I started having people coming over for readings, and she's like, okay, I thought this was just like a hobby, you know? So it took her a minute to like get used to, but she's super supportive. Like she might not believe fully in it, but she's also super intuitive. So I think she gets it like on some level, but she's not like me. Like we would both like float off the planet if we were both like this. So she's grounding for
I
me.
just, like I mean, who's to say if I'll be in a relationship with a woman, but I'm, like, envious of that, like, that both feminine energy of that intuition, you know what I mean? Like, doesn't mean that personality-wise, they're not as, like, skeptical or whatever, but I'm like, I don't know, that feels powerful.
Yeah, but she has a lot of masculine energy. And when people describe, like, have the memes about their husbands, it's her.
It's her.
So it's like, and I have clients tell me, well, it's so much easier when you're with a woman. I'm
I
like,
know.
it's not. There are a lot of the same dynamics. It's not like because you're with a woman, you're exactly the same. Like, you still have that, like, oh, I don't know, I wouldn't say there's a role, like, she's the man and I'm the woman. We're both women and I think something beautiful about at least our relationship, I can't say every gay relationship, is, like, she's my best friend. Like, you have a female best friend who you're also
Yes.
attracted to. You're also, like,
Yes.
companions. You're, like, partners in life. It's, like, the best thing ever, you know? And I never had that with a guy, but maybe that's also because 'cause I'm gay. So
Right, right.
like, I can't tell. I dated a lot of guys. I never had this kind of connection.
Yeah, which is so
So,
special.
it
Mm.
is special, and, like, it's so funny. I went to a psychic years ago because my whole thing and all my friends was like, "We need to meet a guy. We need to get married." Like, that was our, like, big goal in our 20s, right? And, like, probably even late teens. And I remember I felt, like, behind at, like, 26, and I went to see this, psychic and he told me, make a list of like your ideal partner. And then you're going to fold it up, put a stone in, a crystal in it, and put it in a box. And I like totally forgot I had that. But I was like, my ideal, I don't even know if I wrote man, but I didn't like accept that I was gay then. And I just moved and I found it. And it's like wrote it
Oh
like
my
about her. It's
gosh.
really nuts,
We love that.
and it's just so funny, and, like, did I think of things I would probably now think of in a partner? No, but, like, a lot is so aligned with her, and it's just so funny that maybe you don't know what you're looking for.
How is your family accepting of your gifts? Or were they like when you came out? Like I feel like there's like a couple of like big moments in your life of like you saying, I'm now accepting who I am and now I'm gonna tell the world.
Okay, so I will preface this with my oldest brother and I are we've always like walked to the beat of our own drums. So this isn't unusual for me. Like I've never done things the way people want me to. Like I don't follow the straight and narrow path. That's just like not me to my core. I think I tried really hard in my 20s because like everybody else was doing it. I'm just like not into like things most people are, and it's not that it's wrong that they are, I'm just not into it. Like, I like really in-depth conversations. Like, I remember stopping on the street with this woman in Jersey City, and we started talking about death and
Yes, yes.
Like
Feels right.
assisted death, and we're like, this is not a normal conversation you'd have with someone like you just stop and see on the street. Like I love that stuff. And most people are like, oh, let's catch up and like have really surface level talk. Like that's just like not me. I actually feel like I struggle with that stuff. So I think it's also like personality things. I'm really horrible in groups. So like I don't know why, like I'm just like I like don't want to be here. Like it's just so weird. I much rather like one-on-one contact. And maybe it's because like I absorb the energy of the group and it just feels too much for me. I'm like sometimes I'm like maybe I'm autistic cuz like the loud noises and I have it and I'm like but I don't have any of those things. But I think it's an energy thing. I just like I can't be around a lot of different energies. So and sorry if that autistic comment offended anybody. I didn't mean it in that way, but it was like really like since it became more popular, I'm like maybe I am, and I do have people in my family who are. So, um, but anyway, not to to get back to your question, you know, I think my parents are so liberal. Like they have friends whose kids came out, most of them women. I thought I was gonna be a piece of cake. But I also said, like, I was meeting a guy named David, and I was slept over his apartment in Morristown, like, New Jersey, like, our first date, and my parents were totally cool with that, and that was a Tuesday night. By Friday, it was my wife told me about 40 times, "I'm turning 30 on Friday. I'm turning 30 on Friday." And I actually had a second date with another guy, and I canceled it and went, and, I was just like, "I know this girl's gonna be in my life. Like, I just know it. Like, why am I wasting my time?" So I showed up to her birthday. I stayed at her apartment all weekend. My mom thinks I'm at this guy David's, probably getting excited, planning the wedding, and I'm like, "Okay, I, like, have to tell her." And what's so funny is I was going with another friend to a crystal store. I had gotten home from her house. I was staying at my parents', and I was on my way to go to a crystal store, and so my parents just happened to both be there. I'm like, "Hey." I'm like, "I'm actually going to get some crystals, but by the way, that guy named David, his name's actually Lauren and he's a woman. I'll see you later." They were like, what?" And they're like, "You didn't even tell me to sit down." And my dad's like, "Wait, you mean you're like attracted to her sexually?" I was like, "No, I just like want her as a really good friend?" And so it took a little bit for them to adjust just because they had no inkling. Like my wife came out of the womb gay. Like, she asked her parents for a cup because she played baseball with the boys, so I think they were
Oh,
pretty cued in. But I think for my parents, it was more, okay, like, I didn't see that coming, but my parents sat me down, they're like, "And if you get married, like, we're still gonna, like, throw you the best wedding," and I was like, "Oh, well, I would hope so." But it was coming from a good place. It was just like it was the kind of thing where it's like you didn't think it would be your kid, but you're accepting of everybody else. And they've been unbelievable. They're the most welcoming. They love her. Her parents are amazing too. Like we're so lucky we have such amazing in-laws and family. So, and it's just like it was a 2-week period that was awkward. And my brothers were, just happy. Everybody's just happy I was happy, because I always struggled. Like, I met these people. I really had one boyfriend who was really awesome, um, but I just didn't feel that connection. But it's like I dated really good guys. I just like never felt it, and there was just not that thing. Um, and so I think my parents saw like, oh my god, and my mom says to this day, like, you guys still smile and laugh when you're texting each other, like you still make
aw.
each other like crack up. And that's so important. So that experience of coming out that way was like, I guess hard at first because it was uncomfortable and it was just something I denied for so long. Um, and then coming out as this was kind of a similar experience for me at least. Like I like really wanted to hide it, like, I wanted to do it in secret. Like, I told, like, a few people, like, who weren't close friends because it was, like, no risk, but I was, like, really scared to tell my friends. I was scared to tell my family. I think after just seeing me and, like, how, like, I just am, my parents are
Yeah.
like, "Cool, as long as you're happy," you know?
Yeah.
So, but like, yesterday, my parents' friends came over, and, like, my parents know I'm starting a business and everything, so, my mom's like, So my mom's friend is like, "Oh, how's business going?" Because she knows I'm a therapist. I'm like, It's definitely like a little bit dead. Like I still have like a bunch of clients, but I'm not getting like new ones." And my mom's like, "Well, she's doing other things," like kind of nudging me to tell her. I'm like, "Yeah, I'm doing some writing." Like I just like didn't feel comfortable. I am really scared to be judged. And that comes from me. I'm judging myself. And I think that's most judgment is like you're judging yourself and then projecting it onto other people. It's like, oh, they're going to say this. And the reality is, they're going to think whatever they want. You don't have control over that. So why not just be who you are? And I don't know why I still struggle with that a little bit, but I'm definitely coming into it in my own, especially when I have good sessions and people have good feedback and they feel good about it. It's like, who cares what people think?
Yes, yeah. Do you have any past life connections, you think, to that?
Not that's come up well, yeah, you know,
Like a witch wound?
yes, I have a lot of witch wounds, okay, so yes, in that way, I've been persecuted in past lives. Amanda who connected us, we've been witches together in a past life where we were, persecuted. A lot of lynching.
Lot of
Trying to avoid that. And
lynching.
being a Jewish witch, you really don't wanna go there, so
Yes. I mean,
but,
that's a really good point though, like, the trauma of your lineage and the persecution
uh-huh.
is very high. So it just makes sense of, like, both of these things, the, like, hiding of it and, like, this protection of it when we're, like, I don't know, what do you think you're waiting for? Like, what feeling are you waiting for to be, like, wide open with it?
Well, just knowing me, I come into things at my own time. Like, I am like, do not tell me when to be okay with it, you know? Like, I am a delayed person, like, everything in my life has been delayed, and I've just kind of accepted that about myself, and, like, I think even with comedy, I was 25 or 26, I'm like, "I'm too old to be doing this." It's like, people didn't necessarily do it from birth,
Right,
you know?
right.
I remember being in grad school, again, 25, 26. I'm like, "I'm so old for this. I'm the oldest person in grad school." It's like, "No, you are not. Like, what is wrong with you?" You know? Like, dating, like, I met my wife at 31, and I'm like, "I'm so old." You know? It's just like, you're not old. Like, Rodney Dangerfield didn't start comedy till he was 50, you know? So,
Wow!
he was like an insurance salesman or something like that, you know? So, it's just like, it is possible to do things and be really successful. One of my friend's parents was a pharmacist, and then in his 50s, he's like, I want to be a lawyer. When has a really successful law firm, you know, so or a lawyer business, whatever it is. But I just think we are so conditioned to think you have to know exactly what you're doing, you want to do, you have to follow that path, and you can never stray. And if anything, I've done the exact opposite. I've had at my bridal shower, we had a comedian because we did it together, and she asked us, like, our jobs and stuff, and I had this, like, long list because 'cause I've literally done everything. She's like, "It seems like you have no idea what you want to." I was like, "You're right, I don't." And I've just literally tried everything, and I finally found something I really love. And I love therapy, but this really feels like my soul, like, "You're supposed to do this," you know? And I think the more it's like riding a bicycle, the more you do it, the more confident you get. So I think it's just really putting myself out there and doing it more. But I haven't had a session where it went badly. So I don't know why. I think it's just I need to do more of it.
And I will say, so we had a session maybe, I don't know,
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks
Yeah.
ago? I'm like, "Oh, time flies." And it's interesting because I feel like we're the same in there's just something really special, I'm just gonna toot our own horns for a second, about being a therapist and then going into the spiritual realm because of the, like, boundaries around it and the way that you can hold space in a really grounded way. And I think that's where the magic really happens is like things are coming in, I'm having intuitive hits, but I felt held the whole time that I wasn't like
Oh, good.
riding off in a spaceship and I'm like, what the fuck happened to my life? You know what I mean? Where it's like,
Yeah.
where it's so out there where you're like, I don't even know how to integrate any of that. You know?
Right,
It felt
right.
very like there was felt very clear. There were steps. I talked about business. What's the next step with business? I talked about relationships, me and my own spiritual gifts. Like it was just a beautiful session. And then you downloaded rituals and I did the rituals. Like and I made some of it my own too. And I think it was
Right.
just this beautiful like starting ground of the idea of clearing and grounding in that. And it was just so wonderful. So
Oh, thank you.
it was a great time.
And to your point, always do things in your own way. Like things are just a guide, you know? And I remember like my first private practice I worked in. I was so used to be told exactly how to do my job. And that was like the first place I was able to breathe. And she's like, I trust you, go do your thing. You know, so I took everything I learned and did it in my own way. And when people tell me to do something, I'm going to add my own twist to it. And I think that's what makes you unique. That's what makes you have your gift and why people would want to come to you or why people would want to buy your product, like whatever you're doing or why you're good at your job because you need to put your own like signature into it.
Mhm. Right, exactly. Okay, what is the weirdest, craziest thing that has happened to you since this has all come online for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think I work with one person weekly and the stuff that comes up is just mind-blowing. Like I couldn't even make up some of it. Like I've channeled that they are Eve from Adam and Eve, and it led to, like, other things where it was just, like, all of a sudden an article would come out, and I think she is here to help redefine what, like, the creation story, and I was like, "Okay, I think this is why you first channeled Inanna and Isis," and then Eve came up, and she's married to someone who has a last name that's literally an apple, type of apple, and I'm like, "That's weird." She's like the snake of Kundalini that she does, you know, and I was like, "You're here to change, like, the way that women are," you know, like, women are supposed to be revered, they're supposed to not be submissive and subordinate. Like you're here to change the way we think about women and this creation story of us. And then all of a sudden last session, it was we channeled something. I think I saw a lotus flower and I don't even know how we got to it, but I got to an article where it was about it was called like the mother I don't know, but basically, it's this whole story about how I was like, "You are this person," and I said the name, and then we looked it up, and it was a person who is totally about creating a new creation story
Oh my
for and
gosh.
redefining the way women are. It was really weird, and it's like chills all over your body
That's
things,
all it
like
right now, that's what I'm having.
yeah, and I probably did not say that so eloquently because some of it, like, I think you'll start to feel this too, like, you don't remember exactly. Um, so, like, and it was just, like, one thing after another. I'm like, holy shit, oh my god." And you just can't make this stuff up. And then you think back to, like, everything where we started, and I give little drops every time, and then it weaves into this big story, and, like, everything's connected, and you're like, "Oh my god, that is so wild." So I think, like, yes, a one session is good for me, but when I can really work with someone, we create a story and it is so insane what comes out of it. Like I'm actually I shock myself.
Yeah.
It's like I'm like I can't even believe that like I said this or this came to my head. Like I don't even know where it comes from and I'm like this is just insane and amazing.
Well, it's interesting, it sounds very similar to therapy,
Yeah.
like a weekly kind of session.
Yeah.
So is it like a weekly psychic session or medium like
Yeah, it's like a soul guide. So, like, what is your soul supposed to do? Where are you stuck? Why are you stuck? How can we get you out of this and get you on your path? And how can we help develop your gifts? You know, and it's almost like a mentorship, I would say. You know, so I'm not gonna sit there and do therapy with you because A, illegal. like,
it's not this? Yeah.
right, it's just not this, and, like, I love doing therapy, and I've seen inc insane transformations with my clients, I will say that, and such an honor to be alongside them, but this is different. I'd say it's quicker because I don't have to allow the person to just sit there and get there on their own. So, you know, I can kind of like interject a little bit and be like, okay, like, like I see things, I could have said things to people day one. I think there is some, uh, I think there is some value in someone coming to something on their own because I don't think you change unless it comes from
But
you.
the contract is different. The, like, consent is different. That's what I feel when I do tarot. It's the consent is different for me to just give it to you straight in some way or this direct connection in this way, and then the extra or the therapy parts come around that to support that. It's the other way around.
Yes, exactly. It's inverted therapy.
Yes, 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 exactly. And that's why it's fast.
Right. And the therapy really serves a purpose, like our experience, because we do know how to work with people, connect with people in that way. And I'm sorry, if you're a therapist, you have something innately in you where you're like called to do that. Like, no one just signs up to be a therapist. Like, it is not the easiest job in the world. It's a lot of holding really heavy things. And being able to connect and build a rapport and really work with some people through really difficult things and awkward things, So you have to be called to that. And I feel like this is really similar, but those skills really do help in this, like exactly what you said, holding space for people, making people feel comfortable, and also like creating this environment where they can be vulnerable. I think a lot of psychics are just going to tell you things. They don't care about your vulnerability necessarily or know how to handle it. And like I think people will sit down and it'll feel like a therapy session at first, but it quickly goes a different way.
Yeah. And I think the art of setting yourself aside is also very helpful in clearing again that bias around that. Not to say that never comes up. I think sometimes in therapy too, I'm like, I'll say, like, I'm not sure if this is mine or yours. So I'm just going to say it. And then you tell me what you feel about it. Um, or if it's a shared experience and we're both feeling whatever. But I think that's also important to when giving a message because when you're hearing things or when you're visualizing things, like you have your own filter, you have your own things of what you're going to say, how you're going to say it. Which again, I just think is so valuable. It's like the therapy skills support and help integrate and help ground, okay, this is the soul's mission. Here are some steps of how you do it. Because I've had a couple readings which have been wonderful and great, and I think have like awoken me in a lot of ways. But afterwards, I feel like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know how to live now.
And it's also like, what do I do with that?
Yeah.
You know?
Uh
And
huh.
I want to like give people things to do and 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 to kind of marinate on, right? And let it sit and see what else comes up and then we can work through that. It's almost like a domino effect of like the work we do. So it's like, okay, we're going to come up. This is going to come up for you. And then when you're gonna quickly find something, and that's the spiritual difference, is it happens really, really fast often. So you're like, "Wait, I need help through this?" And I know I've been through that too, and I think part of always what I've done is I wanna give people what I didn't have? So I don't really know anybody who does what I do, and I will say my mentor, like, I had one who was amazing for the first part. She had some health issues, so had to step back, and I think it was purposeful because I started working with this other woman who is very much like me, but just does different things. But she's so helpful, and she's more like start your business, but she acted in a really similar way, and I think my therapy part like is different from that and it helps and my gifts are just different than hers, but it really helps to create this container and this environment that, first of all, not only the person can get something out of, but I can also actually tap in and feel comfortable myself so that I'm not worrying about if they're judging me or not. Because
Exactly.
that will block things real quick.
So what are some issues or what are some things that people are experiencing that they can come to you with for our soul guidance session?
So I think a lot of people feel stuck in feeling like I feel like I have a purpose, but I don't know what that is. Like, what are my next steps? Whether it's career wise, relationship wise, understanding themselves. I think a lot of people feel really lost right now. And it's like, I don't understand why I do this. Like, why is my behavior like this? And of course, therapy is going to be really helpful. And I will say, people who have done therapy benefit more from what I do. So if you have cleared away some of your stuff, that's probably where I would step in, right? Not that I can't help someone else, but I feel like I often go back to the therapy and it becomes more of that. And like,
I
that's not what I
see.
want to do, and it's not appropriate, and I don't really want to take on clients here then be like, "Oh, I'll take you on therapy." I'm not gonna do that. So, I think the more work you've done and you just feel like you're at this crossroads kind of like, I know there's something there. I just don't have a clear picture. What is blocking me? What is getting in my way? How can I get unstuck? And how can I find the magic in me? Like, I have this blog, Unlock Your Magic, and I want people to really be able to like unlock their gifts. And whatever that is, it doesn't mean you're going to be psychic, but maybe it's just that you're this really creative person and you want to go into a creative job, or maybe it's just a hobby. And I think as therapists, we know hobbies are one of the best things for people's mental health. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like you want to be the spiritual, like, goddess or whatever,
Yeah.
but it's just to help you get unstuck and have some direction and feel like you have steps to take, and a lot of that is channeled with me.
Yeah. And I think you're kind of naming s- the spectrum of it all, right? Like you can be a very normal person and,
Mhm,
and
yeah.
still get a soul guidance session of like, yeah, I want to be more creative. What are my creative blocks or whatever? But I think there's something really special about hearing that you're supported by either your angels or your ancestors or your grandma or the universe or whatever you believe in, that there's like everything's for you, not against you. And I think that's such a beautiful and important message, especially nowadays where we just feel like everyone's against each other. But really it's kind of that we're actually all a part of this. And here's a beautiful reflection of that.
Absolutely, that's beautifully said.
Yeah.
And I think it helps get you out of a victim stage. And it's not that people aren't victims. Like, I could say I've been a victim of a bunch of things, but that didn't serve me. It served me for a point because I needed to allow myself to feel that. But it can hold you back. And I think that's when I really got spirituals, when I got out of that. And I'm like, I need something to believe in, like, you need faith. You need faith in things. You need hope. And this gives you hope, and whether you believe in it or not, like, I can't control, but I think when you start to see results and you have that feeling inside of it, feels so good. It makes me feel hopeful again. It gives me motivation again. That's magic in itself.
Right, exactly. And that's the feeling, if you're listening, like that's the feeling to chase. That's the feeling to resonate with. That's the feeling to like imprint in your body, that and that's that discernment, I think, that is like you are on the right path. So I think for anybody listening, like if you are feeling like, okay, I've never had a session before, Beth is fucking amazing, and you'll feel like, okay, I have direction and I have these things that I'm going to work with. So Beth, where can people book with you?
So, I'm in the works of making a website, but you can go to Nishama Divine Guidance. It's on Instagram, and there is a link in my bio to schedule with Calendly. And I probably said that wrong, Calendly.
Calendly?
Um,
Oh, wow.
and you can just book there. You can DM me. We could do it that way. I just want to make it easy for people. But I think I just really want to help people. And I think that's always been my purpose here, is to help and help people understand themselves. I think that is the biggest thing, is like, I want to understand who I am, why I'm here, and how do I get to the place. And again, it's not a destination, but how can I get on this journey and feel good about it and navigate it?
Yeah, the movement. How
Yes.
how can I keep moving? Yeah.
And I think that is one of the biggest things. Like, you're never going to be at a final destination until
Death?
death. I mean, even
Even then?
but even then, after that, like, if you believe in something, like, I believe in, like,
Reincarnation.
reincarnation, so I believe there are people waiting for me up there if that's where I go. It's just, it makes it feel better. Like, it's better to believe in something.
I love that. Okay, Beth, before we go, do you have any jokes that you want to tell?
Oh God. Like, that was the thing. I'm like, I'm a
I
storyteller.
know,
So
I know, I
like
know.
you
You had a
know,
couple very good comedic spotlights throughout this
yes.
episode, so don't
Okay.
worry.
Well, like, I'm not a like one-liner.
Yeah,
Like my
yeah.
wife, she's the best.
She's
Like
the
she's the
one-liner.
funniest. So I'm like, you should go up there and do it. And I will say my comedy was really funny,
I
but
believe it.
I'm more like off the cuff or write it out and like really work it out rather than like a joke. Like, let me give you a joke.
I know, I know. But I love your energy. And also,
Oh, thank
okay, we're
you.
wearing black shirts and the gold necklace and look
Oh my
okay, you have to watch us on YouTube
God. Okay.
because we are therapists that are psychics.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God. And you want to
I
hear a
love our
really weird
psychics.
thing? So
Yeah.
I had my first mammogram yesterday, which,
Congratulations. How old are you?
yeah, 41.
41. Okay, I knew that.
Yeah, I didn't do it at 40. I pushed that off. Don't do that. Don't do that. Do not follow my
Okay.
example. Everything's good. But I went in and my technician, she's like, this is so weird. She's like, this has only happened to me once and it wasn't even exact. She's like, but you have my exact birthday to the year. I was like, that is so weird. And then later that day, I was on this therapist group on Facebook, and a woman with my wife's exact name like wrote to me and like asked me advice on something. I'm like, what is going on here? This is like so
That's
bizarre.
weird.
Yes, very weird.
Huh.
So there is something cosmically going on.
Right. What's your sign again?
I'm a Virgo rising,
Are you Virgo,
wait,
Virgo?
Virgo, and Pisces
And
moon.
Pisces moon. Yeah. Mm. Good combo, girl.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, we'll put that in the show notes to your Instagram, and so you can
Perfect.
book
Thank
with
you.
Beth there. Book with Beth.
That should be my tagline.
Yes. And thank you so much for coming on. It's been the
Oh,
best.
thank you for having me. This was amazing.
Yeah. Okay, we'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to our show. If you are loving what you're hearing, please give us a 5-star review up on Apple Podcasts as it helps our little show grow. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.